Good morning. How are you today? Well, we got the spring rains, so I'm wearing something to keep me a little dry, keep my electronics dry. The news is revived Rudy Giuliani. And the story suggests to me that there are a lot of people besides Rudy concerned with his own fate. What I don't understand is there's been a motion made in federal court that there be a special master appointed to look at Rudy's information to decide whether it's attorney-client privilege. And some people said, oh, that's good, that'll insulate the Department of Justice from whatever findings he has. Well, I've handled these cases in which there's been attorney-client questions, whether something could be shared with the prosecutor or enough. And the team doesn't get an outside master. They submit it directly to the judge, those disputes, because the parties, that is, whoever represents Rudy Giuliani, Bob Costello presently, talks to the prosecutors, and some things they'll agree are absolutely privileged. Maybe, I don't know, maybe nothing is privileged in the communications between those two. And then they're submitted to the court, and the court decides. And some have cited as a precedent, well, in the Cohen case, we had a special master. Yeah, and Trump was president then, he whose name I wish to have overlooked. And so we're in a different place now. And there's a judge in the case, and you should be submitting it to him. And this is a special operation. Why? So that there's deniability for the prosecution and what? The judge? No, I think this is something that should appear before the judge. And this is another question of those no guts, no glory. And this time it's the Garland Justice Department. And I don't for a moment suggest that there's any chicanery here. But I do suggest that this is a soft way to approach it when every other defendant in America who's in this situation doesn't get this treatment. So it's special. Now, the second thing that's interesting about Rudy is that there are people out there who want him to get a piece of Trump's $250 million that he grifted from his supporters for the end of his campaign, which he has available to him for various reasons. Now, I'm not really sure he can use it for anything but campaign, but there is an argument that he can, in which case he could give it to Rudy. And Rudy, at one time, was worth $45 million. So some people would think that might be enough to hire your own counsel. The case, I don't think it's going to be that complicated. I don't mean it's going to be easy to convict him. I'm sure he'll fight tooth and nail, but it's also possible he'll agree to cooperate against Trump, which is what he's always threatened, this extra thing he had. And now we've returned to some of the other sinister characters associated with he whose name I will not repeat again, and Rudy Giuliani and others. And that's former AG Barr, who came in and as a contract, which I said ages ago with Ari Melber on his show, the day we got this letter, I said that letter is distorting what's in that report. And I discussed how, and so did Ari, and now, several years later, a judge comes out and says the same thing. And I don't mean it was too long. She received evidence that allowed her to say it in a different context than we were saying it back when it first arose. So that's the corruption continues among those people, and of course the House is going to give the heave-ho to Cheney because she's not towing the line on the big lie. You got to know the world's upside down when these characters are getting news and people are not acting about them. That is, punishing them and coercing them to behave. And that's a real weakness, and it continues, although there have been signs that we're going to take the world more seriously. And the search warrant of Rudy was one of those things. There is another thing in terms of race. There is a legislator in Tennessee who, believe it or not, got up and said the 3/5 compromise in the Constitution, by which slaves counted toward the representation of the state, 3/5 of a person, but individually they had no right to vote. so they had no franchise. It was a way for the South to maintain its dominance in its competition organizationally and governmentally with the North. And originally, they wanted a full vote for each person who was not a person in any civil rights or civil liberties sense. And there was agreement among legislators with him. So now the debate is opening up, and it's taking us back to 1787, when this crazy, terrible compromise extending slavery and giving power to the South to conduct slavery was enacted. And you got to wonder, if Dred Scott were on the agenda today, would some member of some legislature say, yeah, that was a right decision. Dred Scott was property. He had no rights, even though he went into a territory that was free. So this is our problem about race in America. And then in the category of, the virus, finally people are figuring out, we really should get the vaccine to these children because they're getting the damn virus. The ignorance, we don't want to do that, so then it's unnecessary to do it, and then we find it is necessary, and people still want to open schools, and we haven't vaccinated the children. I'm glad Biden is pushing for it, and they say they're going to have a vaccine down as young as 2 years of age, and hopefully they'll test that to make sure that it works. The slogan we hear a lot is, we're all in it together. No one is in it together who gets the virus or who dies from the virus. Those people will fall by the side. And the numbers every day still have high numbers of infections and too high numbers, by my thinking, of actual deaths. So I don't know if it'll ever be at zero, but that's got to be our objective. So it's not raining now, and that's nice. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow when the weather is whatever it may be. Bye-bye.